Hello everyone, my name is Zhihui. Today, my partner Samuel and I will talk about the latest trends in database security. This is an overview of our presentation. First is an introduction to database security. Second is background about database security. Third, why is securing data stored in database important and different? Fourth, database vulnerability and misconfiguration. Then we talk about some major database attacks and ways to securing database. At last, we will talk about the future trends of database security and some applications that we can apply in database security. The database market is a huge and growing industry. The overall database market was 40 billion in 2015 and should reach 50 billion by 2017. Generally, a database system is designed to be used by many users simultaneously for the specific collections of data. It also gives opportunities to hackers and lawbreakers to make profits. Due to the popularity of web-based apps, social media, and e-commerce, data become more and more important and unstructured. In order to solve different database problems and fulfill different needs, we use different platforms and databases to store, manage, and query data. Some of the techniques that other groups have already talked about in previous presentation, like cloud database, NoSQL, big data, we have more tools to solve database problems, and hackers have more targets and methods to break database systems. One major change in database area is the popularity of NoSQL database, which is designed to enhance database performance and fulfill different needs from customers. The left table shows the database rank in 2013, and the right table is the database rank today. We can find that more and more SQL databases are being used. And the latest trends in database products are those who don't purely embrace a single database structure, but instead bridge SQL and NoSQL, giving users the best capability offered by both. The other big difference is moving to the cloud. In order to reduce operational costs and increase scalability and flexibility, some companies choose to migrate their data from local machines to cloud platforms. However, the shared and on-demand nature of cloud computing introduces the possibility of the new security breaches that can erase any gains made by the switch to cloud technology.
In this slide, we'll talk about why securing data stored in databases is important and different. So databases store massive amounts of sensitive data. We already know this. All the companies and the organizations that collect our data get hit on their databases. The companies such as Equifax and Anthem, when they got breached, their databases were hit, and that is why all of our sensitive information such as social security number, credit card details, bank account details, addresses, etc. were leaked. Now, data usually is structured and which influences how it is accessed. They can be accessed via queries or programs written in languages like SQL. You already know that if you even have basic amount of SQL, you can transact, you can read data, you can retrieve data, which leads us to our fourth point, derived data or database views. This is like a virtual database, which when you write a command such as select star from a particular table, you'll find that that opens another database, which is usually a virtual database, and that influences how we view that database. In this slide, we'll talk about database vulnerabilities and misconfigurations. So the first is unauthorized access to database. In this, a person who might not have the proper authority to access a database gets the access to it. It can be an inside job or an outside job. Second is keeping track of all the authorized users of the system. In this, the people who have the authority to use a particular access should be monitored, what stuff they are doing on the database, how many hours they are logging in, and stuff like that. Third is managing large amounts of data which belong to relatively large organizations. Whenever a large organization gives another organization a contract to manage their database, that contains a lot of sensitive information and should be kept properly. Again, it contains all the access control problems and people who are logging in and using the database and maintaining the database. Data leaks also are another problem, and these can again be inside job like Edward Snowden did for the NSA, or can be an outside job like various hacker authorizations hacking companies and stuff like that. Stolen database backups. We all know how important backups are, and all the organizations today back up their data on a minutely basis because of the sheer amount of data that they are getting. So somebody can even steal their database backups, and this can be another problem. Deployment failures. Whenever an application goes online or is being deployed on cloud or another server, there can be many failures. Now there can be multiple phases when deployment takes place. These can be provisioning phase, pre-execution phase, execution phase, and post-execution phase. To read more about this, you can go online and obviously search for it. Physical security. Physical security is when the place where the database and the servers are being kept should be monitored properly. This means that access control cards, the biometric system, and the hallways should be monitored with CCTV cameras and people who can guard stuff. Network security is again about access control and people not getting access to the network through which they can go ahead and hack the database. In this slide, we'll talk about the major database attacks that occur. First is the SQL injection. An SQL injection is a code injection technique that might destroy your database. It is the most common web technique and the most well-documented hacking technique. It is basically the placement of malicious code in SQL statements via web input. The single quotation mark is the signature of SQL injection. Next, we'll talk about denial of service. It is a cyber attack where the hacker will make the system unavailable to intended users. This can either be temporary or indefinitely disrupting the services day to day. The next is the virus or worms. Virus is a small program written to alter the way a computer operates without permission or knowledge of user. It's basically composed of two principles. First is that it executes itself without the knowledge of the user, and second is that it will replicate itself based on the original host file. Worms are programs that replicate themselves from system to system without the host file. Now this is in contrast to the virus, which requires the original host file to spread. Last is the malware. It's short for malicious software used to describe various hostile or intrusive softwares such as viruses, worms, Trojan horse, ransomware, spyware, adware, and other such stuff. It can take various forms of executable codes, scripts, active content, and other such malicious software. In this slide, we'll talk about ways of securing the database. So the first is access control mechanisms. In this, three further mechanisms are used. First is the discretionary access control. It's basically granting or revoking privilege to avoid the revealing of confidential information. Second is mandatory access control. Multi-level security by classifying data and users into different security levels, with each level having different access controls, is the definition of mandatory access control. Third is the role-based access control. It provides security according to the role of the user who is accessing the database. Now, second is cryptography. Cryptography is the practice and study of techniques for securing communication in the presence of third parties called adversaries. One-way hash function with symmetric encryption is basically used to secure the database. Third is backup and recovery. Backup and recovery is the most important and the most fundamental part of securing a database. It's basically recovering data from backups so that your software or app can stay online in case any attack or threat is upcoming. Also, mistakes can be rolled back using backups, and it's very essential, and all the organizations are practicing this method. Fourth is the message digest algorithms and digital signatures. Message digest is a fixed size numeric representation of the contents of a message. A message digest is computed by hash functions. Sender can generate a message digest, then encrypt the digest using private key of asymmetric key pair, forming a digital signature. Then the signature is decrypted by the receiver, and that's how you can secure a database. In this slide, we'll talk about future trends in database security. First is the introduction of IoT. IoT, or Internet of Things, is the upcoming phenomenon where all our devices will be connected to each other and will act intelligently. This is essentially a security nightmare because not only will we have to secure the devices individually, also we have to secure the links between them because those can be misused as well. Second is the big data. The amount of data the organizations are collecting right now and their sensitivity, it's very risky if they get hacked. Millions of people will have their account information leaked, as well as their social security numbers, their credit card details, and bank account details. Third is hackers are always one step ahead. Now, securing a database or securing data is very difficult than hacking one, because securing you have to cover all your bases, but hacking you have to find only one vulnerability which will be enough to cause disaster. Fourth is government and state intervention. Nowadays government and states are beginning to intervene in even the small matters, and they want backdoor entries, which is not very good for the organizations maintaining the databases and their security. So we have to find new ways to secure the database, and complete ways, so that the important stuff does not get leaked and every important information is secure.
People may already use machine learning and behavior analysis in database security. They could be used more widely in the future. People can use machine learning and behavior analysis for the detection of SQL injection attacks and anomaly detection for defending against insider threats. These techniques can free up database administrator